Hey guys, welcome back to Overtime. I'm Makayla Furrey, and on today's episode, I'm joined with my mom, Koren Furrey. Listen as we talk about her life growing up and what it's like to be an NFL coach's wife. Hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. Hey guys, welcome back to Overtime. I'm Makayla Furrey, and today I am super excited to announce my guest, my mom, Koren Furrey. Mom, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, growing up in Hilliard, Ohio, was football always a big part of your life?
Yes, I was, as you would say, born on the football field. If you've ever seen the movie Remember the Titans, everyone always used to say I was like the girl from Remember the Titans. So my dad was a head coach of a football team, and practice didn't start when I was in elementary school until I got there, and he gave me a clipboard, and I was the water girl, and I learned how to tape ankles, and I started learning how to read defense, and so basically, yes, football has always been a part of my life.
Now, at what point growing up did you and dad meet?
So when I moved to Hilliard, Ohio, I was in second grade. We had moved from Lima Senior, which was about a maybe 2.5 hour drive. But so I technically in second grade. He ended up leaving and going to a different elementary school, and then we went to middle school and high school together.
Now, into your college years, you attended the University of Cincinnati for the first two of them and spent most of your time working for Bob Huggins. How did you get that job, and what was it like working for the legendary basketball coach?
Yeah, so my neighbor when I was in middle school and high school was actually a college official. And so basically, he had officiated a summer camp at UC and met Bob Huggins and told him that his neighbor was coming there. And then he offered me the job to work there, which it was a great experience in terms of getting introduced to college athletics.
And then you transferred to Ohio State to finish off your college career working for coaches John Cooper and John Tenuta. What was that like, and how would you differentiate working for a Division One basketball coach and a Division One football?
They're very similar. The recruiting process was very similar at that time. It was about VHS tape, which your generation doesn't even probably know what that is. Everything's online and uploaded to Huddle. But back then, you would actually send a VHS tape to your coach. And so, from that aspect, it was very similar. Ohio State is a much bigger college than the University of Cincinnati. And in terms of football and basketball at each school, they both are probably the dominant sport. Although I will say at Cincinnati, football is now probably equally as dominant. But back then, it was definitely a basketball school, and Ohio State was definitely a football school. So they were like comparing apples to apples.
And then I know after you graduated, you and dad started dating. How did that happen?
And so going into my senior year of college, we ran into each other at actually a bowling alley in Hilliard. And even though we grew up together, we didn't really hang out with each other. One of my really good guy friends was one of his best friends. And so through him, we kind of stayed connected. But we honestly just ran into each other one night while we were out with our friends.
And then at what point of your relationship did he say he wanted to play football professionally?
And so once I graduated from the Ohio State University, I had got a job with Ford Motor Company. And so they had kind of moved me all over the place. And I loved it. Was a great experience. I highly recommend all high school and college kids to look at Ford Motor Company in terms of employment. But I had a great experience there. And so one night, kind of, I don't know, probably 9 months after we had kind of started dating. Um, he was playing in the Arena League, which at the time they had signed on with NBC, so they were on TV. And I asked him kind of, what are your like goals? And why are you playing at this level if your goal is to play football? Like you should work hard and, try to get to like the highest level. You shouldn't just be, um, happy at this level. If your dream is to be in the NFL, then give it a shot and give it everything you have to get there. And that's kind of what he did.
So then when he said that he wanted to take it to the next level, what was going on through your in your head? Like were you just full support, or did you have any reservations about moving on to that next level?
I never had like any reservations, and knowing your dad, I knew like if he put his mind to it, like he would get there because he was uber talented and he had like all the, tools and everything that it would take to get there. I think we just didn't really know, gosh, if this thing happens, it's really going to happen fast. And I
Mhm.
think that's kind of what happened. We got married in July, and so the arena season ended, um, like typically ends around that same time. So we had planned our wedding accordingly. But Kurt Warner had came to announce one of their arena games, and like the next day, the St. Louis Rams invited your dad to training camp, and so that was before our wedding. And so he really, we didn't have any like a lot of money. I made, good money at my job, but not enough to support like two people living in separate cities and all that kind of stuff. So he actually kind of slept in his car some nights, like at the facility, just to save money, until we knew for sure what was going to happen. And then when we got married that July, training camp was right after that, and I continued to work. And then he was just trying, working really hard trying to make the team.
Mhm. Now, what do you think would surprise most people about the wife of a professional athlete?
I think, and I don't want to speak for like everyone, because I think we all probably have unique and different opportunities that, come with that title. But I will say that a lot of people probably think it's glamorous and it's all this like fame and all this stuff. But when Mike was playing, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't even have really Facebook until I think his last year that he played is when people started really getting on Facebook. So people didn't, not that they didn't care as much, but what you wore to the game, it just wasn't as important, and it wasn't such a, glam and glitzy,
Mhm.
environment back then. Um, so I feel like it was more, just what everyone else is doing, trying to raise your kids, trying to make good choices, trying to, clean your house and get the dishes in the dishwasher. And, we were doing all that. I remember Daddy mowed the grass, and our neighbor, this was in St. Louis, and he pulled up and he said, you play in the NFL, why are you mowing your own grass? But I mean, it was just trying to do things like that to keep us grounded and to keep us, I don't want to say in the real world, but to keep us, in the real world.
Mhm. Now, what effect, positive and or negative, have you discovered about raising a family throughout these years of dad coaching and playing?
Yeah, and so I think there's positives and negatives. We always used to joke when you were little, and probably some of your friends will say the same thing about you now, but you can kind of talk to and make friends with anyone. And I feel like that is attributed to, you've moved 9 or 10 times in, your short 16 years, which a lot of kids have never moved once. So I feel like by moving a lot, you learned how to make friends. And I'll never forget, we were at a playground one time and you had all the kids lined up and we're talking to them, and you didn't know any of them. And so I feel like that has been a really positive, attribute like to you and to your lifestyle for what you've lived. With that same thing, the negative could be said too, is like the uprooting and the moving. I have 3 kids, and your brothers handle it a little bit different than you do, and even between them, they're a little bit different and more hesitant to move and for new adventures. So I think it could be a positive or a negative depending on how you look at it. I think also probably the assumptions, that people make about us or as a family,
Mhm.
or maybe things they assume that we do or have. Sometimes that's hard. Those are big shoes to fill sometimes. And I worry, for my kids about stuff like that.
Now, how many times have you moved throughout the
Um,
relationship?
since your dad and I have been married, we have moved 14 times. And
Okay.
so we got married in 2003.
Okay. So now, what does that number 14 mean to you personally?
Um, Gosh, we love moving. Like, I love new adventure. I love meeting new friends. I love getting involved in new communities. I love learning that, in this world, we're all so similar yet very different. Like the South is really, has some different unique qualities of things you don't see, in the North. For example, if it's going to snow in the South, everything shuts down and they can get like an inch of snow and you can't find bread or milk for like miles away. And I always wondered, like, what are they doing with all that bread and milk when it snows? I'm not sure. But, we're here in Chicago, you're talking about 15 inches of snow and we're still going to school. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love learning and seeing and experiencing different, parts of the United States.
Yeah. Now, you are a part of the Mike Furrey Foundation. Do you
Yeah.
mind giving the viewers a little background knowledge on that?
No. So, it's something that your dad and I are both very passionate about, community. And so, where your dad came from in the sense of working really hard. He wasn't drafted right out of college. He wasn't ever handed anything. He always had to work really hard to get it. And so we always kind of thought, if we ever make it, we want to give back. And we always want to remember, number one, where we came from, number two, where we're at right now, and try to, do as much as we can in those places. And so, kind of in 2003, 4, and 5, we were doing tons of stuff in the community and just trying to like learn as much as we could. In 2006, he had a very good year. And then with that came his first kind of long-term contract. And so, when we finally had the money to put the foundation in place, it was like super exciting. And then just being able to give back and the memories we've made and stuff we've done, the families we've met. I mean, some of them, some of our really close friends and people that we keep in touch with to this day are kids that we met in the hospital or people that have helped us or people that have delivered baskets with us. And so the Basket of Hope program is probably our favorite. And Angela Burnett runs that out of St. Louis, Missouri. And we just love the program. And it's just taking baskets to kids in the hospital that need hope. So we've just been really blessed by that program. So we love it.
Well, I hope someday that I can do it too, because you haven't
Yeah.
invited me to any of those yet.
Well, part of that is your age. So most of the hospitals want you to be, old enough. And then now with COVID and the other kind of flu season, there's some restrictions, but someday you will just love it.
All right, Mom. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I mean, you are a little bit cooler than I thought. I mean,
Clearly, I
but
think all your friends already know that.
yeah. And to the viewers, thank you guys so much for watching, and I really hope to see you guys soon. Bye.